It is now my pleasure to introduce Dave Petersen, CEO of OC Tanner and one of the sponsors of today's event. Dave wanted a job at OC Tanner so badly, he offered to work for free for 2 months and said if the company wasn't satisfied after a month, they could cut him loose. 30 years later, he has brought his determination, dedication, and capabilities to every department in the company. Today, he serves as a globally minded leader for this worldwide company headquartered right here in Salt Lake City. OC Tanner has been recognized as one of the best places to work in the US, and we're fortunate to hear from Dave today about what we can all learn from OC Tanner's people first culture. Please welcome Dave Petersen.
Hey, thanks very much. Hey, thank you all very much. It's really a treat and an honor to be with you today. One of our board members not long ago joked, I think they were joking, that maybe now that I'm the CEO and the pay's a little higher, they'd like to have those 2 months that I offered to work for free. I was asked to talk a little bit about lessons we've learned in our business about people-first cultures, which, as you can tell already from these panel discussions and Dave's presentation this morning, is central to the concept of an evergreen company. I'm going to find this clicker. There it is. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our experience with large clients, specifically the 30 clients that joined us last year on the Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For list. We made that list for the third time. Truthfully, we'd rather be a great place to work than show up on a list, but we're honored to be on the list nonetheless. And 30 of the other 99 companies on that list happen to be OC Tanner customers. So we have some insight into what they do and how their cultures work such that they can be considered a great place to work. And there are some questions about this. The question was, do they have something in common? Are they doing something similar that creates that kind of a workplace culture that causes them to be a place where people want to work? Yes, they do. And we'll talk a little bit about those things. First, just by way of context, OC Tanner is going to hit probably around $800 million in revenues this year. We have 1,500 global employees. You can see there, they're located mostly at about 1,200 here in our Salt Lake headquarters. We have other offices, substantial offices in Toronto, London, Mumbai, Singapore, Melbourne, and Hyderabad. We were founded in 1927, so love the call out earlier. Thank you. We are a 95-year-old startup. That's how we think about ourselves. I don't know if you ever arrive. I think you're always going somewhere, and we like that sense of being a 95-year-old startup. We're also privately held and have a unique governance that was set up by our founder, Obert C. Tanner, many, many years ago. So let's talk about these four characteristics, and I'll frame them a little bit to begin with from the perspective of what we do for those 30 clients. Culture Cloud is our software and services collection of products and services that we take to the market and help our customers with. Software, solution design, some consulting, symbolic awards that we manufacture and design. It's a comprehensive package that we roll up under this idea of a culture cloud of software and services. There are four things that these 30 other companies on the Fortune 100 list sort of have in common that we've noticed. The first one, and the biggest and most important, is they've got a people-first culture. Now, that's pretty easy to say, but a people-first culture means you're very intentional about how you take care of your people. It means you make long-term decisions with your people in mind. It means you don't make very many decisions without considering either the impact on your people or how your people will execute that strategy. And let's face it, people execute strategy. No matter who you are or what kind of a business you have, you really depend on your people to do that. We conduct an annual global survey. We talked about 40,000 people, around the world, and we have maybe 14 million data points that we use to analyze. And this gives us an insight into global workplace culture and other factors in different regions of the world, and we bring that information back, we synthesize it, and it informs our product development, our services that we take to market, and it helps us to provide insights to our client companies that they can then use in formulating their own workplace culture strategies. This is a really interesting framework here. Let me just say this about culture. Can you define it? How do you define workplace culture? It's a little nebulous. Leaders sometimes struggle. You can feel culture. Culture is kind of the way it feels to work at a place. Even on the university campus, there's a culture, and it's different on this campus than it would be on another campus. They can all be good. The 30 clients that we share on the Fortune 100 list all have great workplace cultures. They're all different. But this is a framework that helps to think about that a little bit. These 6 elements, purpose, opportunity, success, appreciation, well-being, and leadership, are, if you will, we call them talent magnets. They are the kinds of things that draw people in to an organization and motivate them to be attracted and then to stay and to contribute to the success of the organization. Just a word or two about each one. Let's start with purpose. Purpose is, how do you genuinely connect people to the why of the organization? What are you about? Why are you in business? Beyond a profit motive. People want to be connected to that. They spend a lot of time working. The more connected they are, the better the results, the more fulfilling the opportunity will be, the more successful the business achievements will be. Opportunity is about, you might be thinking, that's promotions. It's a little bit different than that. It's more about, is this a place where I can see a future, where I can develop and grow, maybe where I can achieve a potential that I can't even see yet, but I hope might be out there? There's a lot more to opportunity than just promotion. There's a lot of growth. It's looking out long term at who I might be at some point as I mature in my career. Success is, we think about financial success, but it's also about being part of a winning team. Don't you want to be on a winning team? Don't you want to be a part of something that's contributing, something that's exciting, something that has energy? That's what that's about. Appreciation is really doing what everybody was taught to do. Say thank you and acknowledge people, encourage them, inspire them, notice them, see them, and see them for who they are, welcome them, and really be personal and intentional about it. We'll say something more about that a little bit later. Well-being, does this place care about me? If I work there, will they care about my well-being, my financial well-being, my emotional well-being, my physical well-being? Do I trust them with my career? And then leadership. And leadership is not so much about who the leaders are, but what kind of leadership is cultivated in that organization. How do they coach? How do they develop? When I have a meeting coming up with my boss, am I looking forward to it? Or am I fearful about it? So think about those things as you consider your culture. And if you're wondering about your own workplace culture, our research shows us and tells us that if a company focuses on these 6 elements, they're going to have their own unique, very good culture. And it's going to set them apart, help them to rise above competitively other people in their industry, and achieve great business results. Talent magnets, a really cool framework. This is another element from our survey that we did during COVID. This is really quite fascinating. Look at this on the left: engagement, retention, inclusion, and burnout. And then in the middle column, the impact of COVID on thriving workplace cultures with those 4 elements. And in the far right column, the impact of COVID on non-thriving workplace cultures. Startling. Engagement, employee engagement, took a hit in thriving workplace cultures of -1% versus down 52% in a non-thriving. What's a thriving workplace culture? It's one where they're paying attention to these 6 elements. Retention, down 3% versus 53%. Inclusion, down 1% versus 51%. Burnout, a lot of burnout during the pandemic, up 13% in a thriving workplace culture, up 81% in a non-thriving culture. Pretty amazing differences. The second of these 4 would be purpose. We talked about that a little bit, but here is a quick way to think about purpose. Your value proposition, what is that? That's why do people hire you? What are they hiring your products and services to do? What's your customer value proposition? Your employee value proposition, why would I want to work for you? What's in it? How can I connect to that purpose? Can I? And social good. This is, if there's an intersection here, and if you can identify your purpose and communicate it to your people, they'll connect to it, especially in the center of this sweet spot here of customer value prop, employee value prop, and community good. Quick story about KPMG. Great company. We know them well. We work with them. We love this outfit. But Bruce Fow was their executive chairman of HR a few years ago. And they were trying to focus on turnover. They had a lot of turnover early in associates' careers. And there's lots of reasons for that, probably. But one reason they zeroed in on from the exit interviews they were having was that people were not identifying with the purpose of KPMG. They were so busy with the work they were doing, especially these entry-level associates, that they hadn't quite figured out or connected with the purpose, the why of their work. And so Bruce sent out an email and asked for some help. He thought he'd get a few hundred responses from their employees on what's the purpose? What do you find? Give me some stories that articulate the purpose of the work we do at KPMG. He received 40,000 responses. And we helped them with a little campaign to communicate this, and I won't go through all of them. But one of them there, you see on the left, we champion democracy. KPMG was instrumental in validating and ensuring free, fair, accurate elections, the first ones that were democratic in South Africa when Nelson Mandela was elected. That's a great story. They've been involved in helping companies and countries combat terrorism through policies and systems that have been in place for money laundering and other kinds of things over time. Another great story that you can really connect to in terms of a purpose. There are many more of these that surface through those 40,000 responses that Bruce received. But this was a major effort, and it helped them to communicate their people or connect their people to their purpose. This one's a little near and dear to me personally. This fellow on the left is Dr. Sperry. He is an emergency room doctor in Utah County. His brother is our chief operating officer. He's sitting right back there in the back of the room, and a great friend of mine. We have a fellow named Josh McEwen. He's one of our engineers at OC Tanner. And he got an idea. Do you remember in the early days of the pandemic, the horrific images of doctors and nurses working long hours, not having enough personal protection equipment, refrigerated vans parked around the block? Enough, right? It's enough. We remember those. We remember how that felt. Josh thought there ought to be something we could do about that. We don't make personal protective equipment. We don't make medical devices or equipment. But we do make things, just not those things. On his own, Josh and a couple of others met with some of the university medical center people, Intermountain, and a few others, and figured out what it was they needed most. And he sourced raw materials that we don't have, and he reconfigured a production line with equipment that we didn't have, that we had to acquire, and he realigned one of our manufacturing teams and repurposed a whole line of production to make face shields for doctors and nurses that we would then go on to donate to to our healthcare clients. It's a big sector for us, healthcare. And so one day I was out in my front yard in the evening. A neighbor walked by and said, "Wow, you guys are so awesome. I cannot believe what you're doing. What a great leader. What a great company." I said, what are you talking about? And he said, "Well, those face shields that you're making for healthcare organizations." I think you got the wrong, I don't know what you're talking about. It was on the news. So I went in, this is literal, I went in, looked it up. Sure enough, a local reporter, I think it was KSL, had sniffed out that story and it had made the news. It had been going on for several days. Within 2 or 3 weeks, I think we shipped over 70,000 of these face shields. It was a rallying point for our company. Our people, in the midst of all that was going on, felt like we were contributing, like we were helping. There were lots of other companies that did the same thing, because there are lots of companies with great workplace cultures. Let me tell you what, though. This isn't something that was the CEO's idea or the executive team's idea. This isn't something that I thought of. It's not something I convened a committee to study. We didn't do a pro forma. We didn't try to figure out how we'd pay for it. I didn't even know about it. This was the culture. This was Josh saying, this is something we could do, we should do, we would do. And that's what you get when you have a great workplace culture. You have people that are so well connected to the purpose of the organization that on their own, they do better work than you could ever dream of doing as leaders. Third one I want to just touch on of these four is inclusion. A lot of talk about inclusion over these last several years, and that's good. But this is, in the way we talk about it, is a little more than demographics. We're talking about how how it feels when you work and where you work. Does it feel inclusive? Is it inclusive day to day? Not just the numbers, the demographics. We tend to think of maybe inclusion and exclusion as sort of two sides of the same coin. You know, if we reduce one, the other will change. It's not quite how it works. They're all separate. And there are things you can do to improve inclusion and to reduce exclusion that don't cause one or the other to change. Let me give you a couple of examples of some things we recommend that our customers consider. And if you just spend a little time with this, you'll come up with some of your own. First, expanded opportunities for more employees to participate in special projects. For those of you that are leading businesses, how often when there's a special project or an urgent need, do you go to the same reliable group of people that you know you can count on because they've done it before and before and before? Pretty common. This is a suggestion that mix that up. Give everybody a chance. Be a little more inclusive in terms of gathering up people that maybe haven't had that kind of an opportunity to work on a special team or project. The second one is to offer leadership development, not just to your high potentials, but to a broader array of your people. You might be surprised who might emerge as a leader. And third, this is really important, find ways to recognize the great work that your people are doing. People contribute in different ways. Some are going to be acknowledged all the time because of the nature of the job. They might be in a more visible position. Some might be in a little more back office or behind the scenes role. Find ways to acknowledge every single person's contributions. It's not hard to do, and it's actually kind of fun. Lastly is recognition. We talked about these talent maps a few minutes ago. The one on the bottom there is appreciation. This is sort of like the connective tissue in the culture, if you will. If you really want to pay attention to all six, but if you pay extra attention to appreciation, it has a multiplying effect on all of the others, according to our research that we've done. When we notice a recognition experience happening, and you do this in your organizations, you call this out and you acknowledge each other, but there's usually three groups. There's a receiver, an individual or a team did great work, got the project done on time or early, won a new client, whatever the achievement is, these are great opportunities. Don't miss them. Do it any way you want, but these are great opportunities. You think about the receiver being in the spotlight, and that's what we usually think about. But let me tell you something. The giver, the leader, the manager, the colleague, the giver of the recognition has to think a little bit in advance, has to plan and prepare. The process of doing that makes them a better leader. It causes them to think about that team or that individual. And the other group would be those observers, the audience, people that are gathered around. If you're not gathering people around, you ought to do that. This is really powerful. They're watching and listening to what colleagues are saying about each other. You're going to hear your purpose mentioned. You're going to hear values mentioned. You're going to hear the best speeches that you as leaders never gave. And they'll be given by colleagues amongst each other. Often when we have these moments in our organization, there will be 20, 30, 50, maybe even 100 people gathered around for 15 or 20 minutes. You might think, wow, is that a good idea? Pretty unproductive, right? Have 100 people standing around for 15, 20 minutes doing nothing? No. I always think of that as the most productive 20 minutes of the day, because all of those people go back to their jobs, their work, their teams, their coworkers, and lift them. And it's just fantastic. I mean, it's just fantastic. So try that. These are some quick photos of some recognition moments we had. We gathered in the parking lot. It just so happens that a lot of our executives drive not just trucks, but F-150 trucks. And we get a lot of abuse and joking and ribbing about that. They are the best trucks, by the way. So we backed them up in the parking lot, and we stood in the beds, and we gathered outside, and we acknowledged and thanked all of these great teammates that have been building face shields. And others from the company that weren't on that team joined us in congratulating and cheering on this great team that represented all of us at a time when we needed to be rallied together. We needed a bigger purpose during the pandemic, and they helped to provide it. And so we had a great moment there in the parking lot, and it was in the summer of 2020, and I think it was the highlight of the year for us. Thank you all very much. I would encourage you to think about your people, think about your cultures, pay attention to those 6 elements, and you'll find that you'll achieve greater business success and you'll enjoy your work. Thank you.